Damon Helton. And before I get him up here, I would like to introduce his family and tell you a little bit about him. Damon is a native of Little Rock, Arkansas. His wife Jana and 4 children, Luke, Olivia, Violet, and Elaine, are here today, and I would like to recognize them. Would you please stand? We've got Mom and Papa here also. We don't want to forget them. Damon and Jana are the owners of the Old Crow grocery store out on Highway 5. Damon served on active duty for 4 years with the U.S. Army. Obtained the rank of Specialist E4. He served with the 2nd Battalion, 75th Regiment, Special Operations Command. He was deployed 5 times to Iraq and Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Damon Helton.
I'd like to thank VFW Post 10483. We honor the veterans who paid the ultimate price while serving this nation's exceptional military. They served to protect the freedoms and liberties that we all hold dear, the very Constitution that makes this the greatest country in the world. Would also like to extend a special thank you to all the veterans that are here today who have served and are still serving in our nation's forces. And I certainly do not want to leave out a grateful thank you to the family and friends who support our veterans, both past and present. We all know being in the military calls for many sacrifices, and for far too many the supreme sacrifice. Not only for our fallen warriors, but for their families who were left to endure the lasting pain and grief of their loss. As Commander Rasher pointed out earlier, 3 years after the end of the Civil War, Decoration Day was established to pay remembrance to these fallen warriors who paid the ultimate price for a young, developing nation. And in 1971, an act of Congress made Memorial Day a national holiday. A small but meaningful act for the families and friends who have died in battle, for they are forever saddened from the void left by those fallen heroes. The grief and the pain will always be there. But today, let us not grieve for these warriors. Instead, as we enjoy these freedoms they have assured us, we should honor them as the heroes they are, and for their dedication to duty, honor, and country. The price of freedom has always been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. This is patriotism of the highest order, and we should all strive to show our gratefulness for the foundation of this great nation. As a nation, we have suffered more than 2.8 million casualties in all of our wars. After World War II, Winston Churchill said, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." When I think of the many brave battles fought throughout history, the cliffs of Point du Hoc and the beaches of Normandy come to my mind. That day in history when the Allied armies joined the battle to reclaim the European continent, Allies stood and fought against tyranny in a giant undertaking unparalleled in human history. At dawn on the morning of June 6, 1944, 225 Rangers jumped off the British landing craft and ran to the bottom of those cliffs. Their mission was one of the most difficult during the invasion: to climb the sheer and desolate cliffs and take out the enemy guns. They were told that some of the mightiest of these guns would be trained on the beaches to stop the Allied advance. Excuse me. The Rangers looked up and saw the enemy soldiers at the cliffs, shooting down at them, throwing grenades, and they began to climb. They shot rope ladders over the fence of the cliffs and began to pull themselves up. As one fell, another would take his place. If the ropes were cut, another one was shot. Soon, one by one, they pulled themselves to the top. And in seizing the firm land at the top of these cliffs, they began to seize back the continent of Europe. 225 soldiers came that day, and after 2 days of fighting, only 90 were able to continue on. These are the men who took the cliffs. They are the champions that helped free a continent. They are the heroes that helped end the war. And today we are bound by what bound us then, the same loyalties, traditions, and beliefs. Isaiah 6:8 says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then I said, Here I am, send me." Those were the men of the 2nd Rangers, as am I. I was ready to give the same sacrifice as the men who scaled those cliffs that day and continue a legacy of men in my family who have served this country. My family has a long history of military service. My brother served in the Army during the Cold War era. My father, an Army retiree, a veteran of Vietnam and Bosnia. My grandfather served in the European theater, and his 2 brothers in the Army Air Corps and the Navy during World War II. And yet a younger brother served in the Air Force during the Korean War. My great-grandfather served in the trenches of France during World War I. William Helton was a conscript officer in the Civil War, and Abraham Helton was a private in the Revolutionary War. You might say I was destined to be a soldier. My tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan gave me a better understanding of myself and a much greater appreciation for our nation and those who have died defending her. After I got out of the Army, I knew I wanted to continue serving this great country while still honoring our fallen warriors. I wanted to do something that would provide family values. Be a benefit to our community and provide a feeling of accomplishment. I'm reminded of a scene from the Band of Brothers. The character playing Dick Winters says, quote, "That night, I thanked God for seeing me through that day of days. And I promised that if some way I could get home again, I would find a nice, peaceful town and spend the rest of my life in peace." Many of us share that same dream. Farming brought me back home, back to my roots. I'm with my beautiful wife and my children every day. I'm able to teach them hard work and discipline. And how to care and appreciate the land that so many have given their life for. Teaching the value and responsibility of doing the best you can at whatever you are doing. The basic of American values. I'm fortunate to also be associated with the Farmer Veteran Coalition and its mentorship programs, the Homegrown by Heroes program, and the Grassroots Farmers Cooperative. Memorial Day holds a very deep meaning for me. For without the sacrifices and service of all those who went before us, I would not be where I am today with my family and a very satisfying career. In closing, I'd like to quote General Patton. "It's foolish and wrong to mourn the men who have died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived." Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.